Alright guys, let's take a look at this next example here. Suppose there is a 45% chance of snow tomorrow. What is the probability that it will not snow? A lot of key information to highlight. So we can see there's a 45% chance of snow tomorrow, and we want to know the probability that it will not snow. So I'm just going to highlight will not snow. And I'm going to show you how to solve this problem the quick Mr. G method way first. So what I want to write down first is that what's the probability that it will snow? So the probability that it will snow, well, there's a 45% chance. So there's a 45% chance that it will snow. But over here on the other side, let's just look at the chance that it will not snow, and that's what we're trying to answer here. So will not snow. Okay, well, I don't know what this value is right now, and that's what we're trying to find out. But I do know is that the percent that it will snow, 45%, plus whatever percent this is over here for it not snowing, these both should add up together to equal 100. So they should add up to equal 100. So what I can do here is take the percentage that it will snow out of 100, and I'll be left with the percent that it will not snow. So 100 minus 45, that's what I want to do. So take 100 and subtract out 45. When we do that, we get 55. Therefore, there should be a 55% chance that it will not snow. And let's go ahead and just fill that in here. So a 55% chance that it will not snow. So the probability that it will not snow is 55%. But probability is not always this easy, and sometimes we have to set it up as fractions. So I'm going to show you how you can actually set it up as a fraction for an event that will not occur, or an event that will not happen. So the first way that we're going to do this, let me just change pen colors back to black real quick. I'm going to show you how to set it up nice and long, and it will take some time to think through, but we're looking at the probability. This time we're looking at the probability of an event not happening. So that's the first thing I want to write down. The probability, I'm going to fix that E real quick. In fact, let's just fix that entire thing there. So the event, E-E-V-E-N-T, will not happen. Alright, and we'll close parentheses. So the probability that an event will not happen. Well, what is this equal to? Let's set up our fraction bar. So what should go on top here? Well, let's backtrack and think about other problems we've looked at in prior videos. We dealt with the probability of events actually happening, and the information that went on top were the number of favorable outcomes. But here we're looking at the opposite. We're looking at events that will not happen, the probability that something will not happen. Well, we can't look at the number of favorable outcomes. We have to look at the opposite. So we're going to look at the number of unfavorable outcomes here. The number of unfavorable outcomes. Great, so the number of unfavorable outcomes goes on top, and on bottom we're still going to look at the number of possible outcomes. Okay, now we can actually break this down and make it more simple so that it looks a little bit more organized. I'm going to change to a blue pen, and we're going to rewrite this as the probability of, and you can choose some different word. You don't have to use what I'm going to use, but rather than writing this sentence out every time, I can just shorten it so that I can rewrite it as maybe I want to say the event won't happen, or an event not happening. And in fact, another one that I'm thinking about writing right now is just not event. The event won't happen. Another way you could write this rather than not event is if you just wanted to write, hey, you know what, no event. We're looking at the event won't happen here. I'm going to leave it as not event. I like it that way. But you can choose what you like, what works for you, and actually what works for your teacher. Your teacher might want you to use something different. But the probability of an event not happening, it's equal to, let's set up our fraction bar here, the number of unfavorable outcomes. Well, earlier when we looked at events that will happen in other videos, we broke it down to a simple equation that just said fav outcomes. Well, let's just keep this simple, and this time we'll just write it as unfav outcomes. Unfav outcomes. Let's fix that C real quick. So we have our unfavorable outcomes on top. We can write it as unfav outcomes, or you can choose whatever works for you or what your teacher likes you to write. So our unfav outcomes over our total outcomes, or the number of all possible outcomes. I'm just going to write down total outcomes here. Great, so we have our setup here, but how could we use this setup to help us actually create a fraction that would give us 55%? Well, let's go ahead and just change pen colors and see how it would look. So I'm going to write the probability and the probability of an event not happening. Well, let's look at in our sentence for what we're looking for an event not to happen. Well, is it this 45% chance? No, 45% chance dealt with the probability of it actually snowing. That is the event will happen. So let's keep reading on. What is the probability that it will not snow? That's what we're looking for. So I'm going to plug will not snow here. In fact, I could simplify that of just saying no snow. So no snow. Okay, so the probability that it will not snow or of no snow is equal to our unfavorable outcomes on top. Well, how can we find our unfavorable outcomes? Well, think about it. Our favorable outcomes was that 45% out of 100, so we had to take 45 and subtract it from 100, and we got 55. So our unfavorable outcomes is 55. That's how we find our unfavorable outcomes. So that's 55 over our total outcomes, or the number of possible outcomes. Well, that was 100. So this is 55 over 100. And if we look at this fraction from here, 55 out of 100 gives us a percentage. This fraction will give us a percentage of 55%, and we can still box up our answer. So the probability of it not snowing is still 55%. Cool stuff, guys. I'll see you in another video.